Hello everyone and welcome back to a GT scale modelling video. This is just going to be a bit of an update on things, what I've been doing, some acquisitions, status of my hobby room and some things that will be coming up on the channel. First of all, I would just like to say, just a reminder, excuse me, that this channel I'm trying to kind of now run it concurrently with a Facebook page which has the same name, so it's GT Scale Modelling. I'll put the link in the description for you. On that Facebook page I will be trying to I'm not going to do any kind of schedule or anything, but there will be random updates, if you like, of what I'm working on, some in progress pictures, a little bit of explanation and things. So if you're interested in such things, then you'll find them there. What I'm going to use the channel for is some kind of bigger updates like this one, and I'll put final reviews of models up on here as well. So speaking of final reveals and finished models, I recently finished my 1/72 Eduard Mark 9 Spitfire. This was painted with various Vallejo paints, and there's a video on YouTube. It's just a slideshow because I wasn't able to get the time to sit and do a face-to-face bit before the final slideshow, but it has work in progress pictures on it and things, and then the final pictures. So if you can't really see this here, then you'll get better pictures in that video. This was a lovely little kit to build. The fit was excellent, the detail is spectacular, it is covered in small rivets and things you maybe can't see, but the wash has really picked all those out. I masked and painted the sky band on the tail here, which I'm quite pleased with. There's a little bit where it's a bit wonky, but it's one of these things that, because the way I did it, certainly was over the camouflage, which meant that it was a bit tricky to try and go and fix that back up again afterwards. I'm really quite pleased with the exhaust staining. If you look at references of these things, the exhaust staining is not black as such, it's actually grey, so it seems to must just be the heat rather than the soot. They are on petrol, they're not diesel, so actually although they smoke aviation petrol, although I guess it was leaded petrol, but anyway, pictures seem to show them as grey trails down the side of the fuselage, so that's what I went replicate there, and I'm quite pleased with that. So overall, pleased with that. Nice little kit, and it was good to get something finished. After that, I've moved on to another kit that was started before I moved, and that was Broncos. I'm not going to get the box down if I don't know where the box is. That's all the way over there. Is Broncos 135th A34 Comet. This was a lovely kit to build. It was quite simple, not a huge amount of parts, but it went together absolutely flawlessly. I don't remember there being, the only tricky bit I had with it was the photo etch exhaust kind of deflector shields. I'll show you in a second. Just because you had to fold them and curve a bit, which is, for me, with not having a proper photo spinning tool or anything, was just a little bit tricky, but we got there in the end and they look okay. I converted a part which came with the Tamiya Universal Carrier on the rear of it. I don't know if any of you ever built this kit. You get a pre-molded, pre-shaped tarpaulin which sits on the back of the Universal Carrier, and I took some chunks out the inside of it and heated the corners and bent it. And the idea being that this now fits perfect, and I fixed the gaps with some green stuff putty. Now this fits perfectly over the rear of the turret storage bin, which looks quite good and just adds a little bit to the model. So, so I'll just reach over here. Again, you won't really see this properly, I don't think, on this camera, but I'll. There's photos on the Facebook page, and there'll be a final video when it's finished. But this is kind of where we're at. It's got its base coat on. I've added some highlighting to that. Again, apologies for this. You probably can't really see it. And I've gone round and done a round of chipping. Painted in the details, such as the machine guns, which is pretty much the only details to paint. The spade. I think the other tools I'm going to just leave. I'm not really sure how to go about painting them. And the wheels are all done and chipped as well, and so it's ready more or less. Once I've done the last few tools, it's ready for a gloss coat and a wash, I think. That's where we're at with that. So that's what I'm working on. That's what I've finished. Spitfire's finished. Working on Comet. Still to finish after that. I'm kind of a bit loath to start anything new. I have a few things which need finished off, and I think I'd quite like to finish them. However, there are one or two of those that I want to finish it because I want to finish my models that need finished. But one or two of them, I'm not that bothered about finishing that individual subject, if that makes any kind of sense. For example, I've got the Doolittle Raid B25B fuselages together, but it's still a bit of a fight to finish neating up the seams all around that. I had issues with I would sand bit and it would open again, and there's re-riveting and re-scribing required. I have a rivet tool, I have a scribing tool, but can I heck use them properly? And I get put off by it because I want to add the detail back, and in theory I know how to use the tool, and I do some practice and whatever, and it never comes out quite as I really would like, which I know it's one of these things that practice makes perfect, but I'd rather not practice on a model that's going to get ruined by it, if that makes sense. So we'll see. There's quite a bit of work needs done on that kit to get it to kind of fit and look nice and be smooth and things. So, and in my own way, I'm just, I don't know if I can be bothered with that at the moment, although I quite like the idea of having it on the shelf, so we'll see. I have an A10 Thunderbolt from Revell, which is mostly built, but it's all raised detail. Again, main fuselage seems to need finishing off, wing seems to need finishing off, but there's raised detail which has been lost, which either I'm going to have to rescribe or re-rivet. And again, I just don't feel up to it, which is a shame. I'm not going to chuck the kit, but it's a big kit and it takes up quite a lot of space on the shelf, sitting there with a nose leg in and nothing going for it. So I'm going to have to find a different place for it. And at some point I may just buy a newer, more modern tooling of a Thunderbolt. Although again, there's arguments as to whether they are good or bad kits themselves. So we'll see. I also have a 1/72 Dakota. Same thing. The wings are separate. You need some work to finalise the fuselage seams. I think I was building these kits back before I was slightly more competent at doing such things. Before I maybe had. Did I have standards and stuff? Yeah, I think I did. But I clearly struggled a bit, and I don't know. The modern jets I've built recently, none of them have got fuselage halves that go like this. They're all kind of different ones, which means that you don't have a huge big seam right round the entire length of the fuselage to fill in, which makes them difficult. And fair enough, yes, okay, I've just done this, but it's small and it's a modern Edward kit, which meant that it was like a bit of a sand and Bob's your uncle, finds your aunt. So yeah, there's a few things that need done, but one or two will probably stay in the box. I'm putting up here, it goes up here. The Hobby Boss Dana is in its box, needing finished, or needs more done, but I'm at the point where I can't continue building it until I get some paint on it, which is why it stalled out when I was in my previous place. So I'll get around to that soon enough, and I'll get some paint. It's mainly around the engine compartment and paint the engine block that's there and around the engine compartment, so I can install that, which means I can carry on building then the rest of the engine deck that builds up on around it and over the top, which I can't do just now, because then A, I can't install the engine, and B, I can't paint it. So I'm going to have to do some painting before I carry on building that. So that's where current models are at. As I said, this Comet, once it's finished, I've got some crew for it as well. It's not going to go on a diorama base. I've got space to display models here, but I don't have that much space, so I'm not going to put it on a diorama base, but I will just fix the crew models onto the tank, and they'll sit kind of on the tank itself. So that's where things are. After that, I don't really know. I should really get back to maybe the Dana or something like that. However, the Pixoplastic Leopard group build is still running, and although Seb announced this kind of literally as I finished a Leopard 2, without at the time the intention of doing another one, I've bought another one. So I thought I'd do something different, if you like. It's a Leopard 2, but it's the Swedish one, the Stridsvagn 122. If you're Swedish and you're watching this and I've butchered that, I apologise. I believe it's basically just the Swedish word for tank, same as German, well, in German it's Panzer. 122 being the calibre of the gun, although it's actually just 120, but for some reason they add an extra 2. Who knows? Maybe it's because it's a Leopard 2. That could be why. So here we have the Hobby Boss kit. Now this is the same base kit as the Leopard 2 I built before. That was the 2A6, but this one includes the sprue for the various Swedish parts, which I believe are... This one seems to have, which I don't think is actually uniquely Swedish, but this version seems to have the kind of beefed up front. It seems to have the beefed up front armour. It has... Can't see on the box. I don't know if the Swedish use the same MG3 on the loader's hatch as the Germans. So that may be different if it's not. If it's not, it's the same. There's like an extra armour layer on the top of the Swedish tanks which raises the cupolas up a bit. The grenade launchers are different. They're apparently French Galax ones, I think. They're French built, designed smoke grenade launchers on the turret sides. And I believe the turret storage baskets and things around the sides and the back of the turret are somewhat different. Other than that, it's more or less the same. So that's that kit. Now, I remembered from building the previous one that the tracks, while vinyl and glued together with no polycement, absolutely fine, they were a bit all warped. So when you put the run together, it all was wiggly. They sat on the road wheels and the sprockets without any problem, and once you've got all the side skirt on, you only see some of it anyway, and it looks fine. But I thought, well, this is not a hugely expensive kit, why not treat myself a little bit? So I got Bronco's plastic working tracks for it, just for something different. So they should be okay. Never built Bronco multi-part tracks before. The Comet came with clipped together single, each link was one part tracks, and they were the best things I've ever built, honestly. When you clip them from the sprues and there was maybe 1 or 2 sprue attachment points per link, that was it. Very quick swipe with the sander and click, 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 and they were together. Best things I've ever built. These are 3 parts, I believe. So we'll see how they go. Yeah, see how they go. That, and I bought an RB Models metal barrel which has some resin collar and the fume extractor and the brass parts for the... Yeah, so that's my entry for the Pixoplastic Leopard group build, and that will be coming up. Maybe I'll try and do a video to start that when I actually get on to start again. A couple of other small quick acquisitions. I was in Aldi the other day doing some shopping and noticed that they had their Airfix 1/72 starter kit's back in again for like $4.99 or something now. They're probably not worth much more than that. And I still got two from the previous time they did this, which I haven't built yet. I got their BF109E and Mustang 5, both of which I think were new toolkits at the time. But yeah, for £5. Okay, and I bought two more. Their Hurricane Mark 1 and Tomahawk 2B. Okay, you know, I don't really do 1/72 aircraft anymore. I kind of moved away from that to bigger stuff, modern jets, tanks, whatever, until I then bought this. But it's what I started out in the hobby with, so they still hold a slight kind of little place in my modelling heart, if you like. And you know, they're new to, you know, little Airfix kits. I don't know. There's just something in me that it's kind of, there's something quite nice about that or whatever. So they'll just go in the stash and they'll be little quick, because they don't take long to build. There'll be little quick builds, you know, at some point if I'm between things or I get stalled out on something, you know, I'll pick up one of these and I'll add it to the 1/72 shelf up there. They're also quite good because they're so cheap. They're ripe for tarting up with some aftermarket, I think. You know, you pay £5 for a kit, and you look at the cockpit and you go, ooh, you know, I had a look at through the cockpit parts of this, and they're all a bit overscaled. I mean, the rudder pedals are bigger than the pilot's head. You know, so, you know, maybe a £10, if I can't remember, it's been a while since I bought a resin cockpit for a 72nd aircraft, but fairly sure that it's then an expense that I would be happy to buy. It would be, you know, a photo etch set maybe and a resin cockpit to you know, to tart this up a little bit. So yeah, that's those. I will not be using the paints. They will probably just go straight in the bin unless anybody wants them. So, and then the last acquisition recently is bigger than that and quite a bit more expensive, and is the newest addition for my MBT SPG collection, which is something I'd wanted for a while. There was never a kit of it bar a resin kit made by some domestic South African very small company. I think made a couple of South African Defence Force vehicles in resin, and so it was not a very easy thing to get a hold of, and it was expensive if you could find it, because it's not a small vehicle and it was in resin. Anyway, Takom decided that they would release this, the G6 Rhino, which is, for those of you who can't see, behind me, is a 6-wheeled SPG. It looks like something out of sci-fi. It's got like a low slung cockpit that juts out the front and big huge tyres, and it's cool. So yeah, this is my first Takom kit. Yes, I've never built a Takom kit before, never owned one. Layout on box side here. I think you get two schemes, a plain one and a camouflage one. The camouflage one's pretty neat, so I'll probably go with that. Excuse me. But it is not a small vehicle. It's going to be a fairly sized thing. It doesn't have a detailed turret or anything, interior for the turret, but it does have a fully detailed driver's compartment, which is kind of cool. So that will be built at some point. I guess for me to follow the rules of my collection, which is an MBT in the most modern MBT available in the most modern SPG for any nation that has such a thing in model form, means I've now got to try and get a 1/35th Oliphant, which is the South African tank. I can never remember. I believe it's like a modern, I believe it's the Centurion it's based on, not the Chieftain. They're that old, I think. They're domestically converted or built, but based on the Centurion running gear with differences in the turrets and stuff. So, you know, maybe it's the kind of thing that if you can get a Centurion model, maybe it's convertible. But you know, if they've released that, maybe Takom will bring one out. Who knows? That's that. I got a few other just random mods and swords, a set of AK Dayfighter, RAF Dayfighter scheme paints, because I was using Vallejo ones, which are fine, but they're all a little bit off. I don't like the MIG paints. The tones are really nice, but as we know, they do or don't paint very nice. So we'll see how these AK ones work. I haven't used AK paints before, but they look quite good colour-wise. And again, I just needed some more varnish, so I picked up some AK Glossy varnish. Again, never used it before, but it seems quite thin in the bottle, which is quite good. Thinner certainly than the Vallejo Gloss varnish, which is quite thick. And I hear good things about the AK Ultra Matte. I use Vallejo matte varnish, and I like the finish it gives, but it's a pain in the ass to spray. It's thick, and so you thin it, and then if you thin it, you don't necessarily always get the truly matte finish then. So I thought I'll get some of that and give that a go. And I had to get a new air hose for my airbrush because mine's little fitting just popped out the end, and then it wouldn't go back in, or just kept going out again, so I bought a new hose. And that's pretty much that, bar the spray booth I got. I can't turn the camera around without stopping the filming. I can't really bother doing that, so maybe try and show you. So if I can see, yep. So here, I'm not entirely sure what brand it is. It's quite a cheap one, I think. It's not cheap, but it's not it's nothing fancy. Sorry if I'm all over the place. I'm trying to do this in a funny way, but it's a fold up one, so the painting area here folds away, and so it folds into being just this size, which is good. It's not too loud, which is quite good. It's certainly no louder than the rattling of my compressor anyway, and it came with a wee turntable. So yeah, that's that. That was my birthday gift from the other day. So. Which is funny because just before I got that, I had bought myself a respirator, which is something I'd never, you should have done, but I've never bothered with before. But my hobby room, it's big enough, but it's still relatively close, and the window only has a bit at the top that opens, and it's winter here in Scotland, and it's dark most of the time, which means that the curtains are shut. Which means that there's not really much ventilation because I tend to close the door over as well so that don't disturb anybody else with the rest of the noise. So I bought a respirator, and then like a day or two later, I got that for my birthday. So I'll now be extra protected, spray booth and respirator. So should be fine. That's 22 minutes of me gabbling on and you having to look at my ugly mug. So I'll cut it there. I don't think there's anything else to show you. No, I think that's about it. Thank you for watching. As I said, please go and check out the Facebook page. I do update that. It's easier for me to update that than it is to sit and make a video and to upload that. And so if you want to follow what I'm doing modelling wise, if you are interested, if you care, then go and check that out. And it's nice to hear from people, so be good if you could, leave a comment on things if you so wish, and things, and it, makes it kind of worthwhile. So thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye guys.